to the Bath. This is At the Tap End, back by. I guess this is the first live interview. Where did this start? Well, at the start of lockdown, I decided to do something a little bit different. I did 8 weeks of Tub Talk, which was me recorded in the Bath, offering leadership and business improvement advice, and people still remember them, even though it is a year further on. I went out for a drink with the person that is responsible for putting me back in the Bath, and he suggested that I do it. But I'll introduce Craig in a second. But before I do, I think one thing that's really important is that when I got my first tattoo, which is this one, 2.5 inches down my wrist, I asked for it to start because I was more bothered about what other people would think of me, and would they trust the bald northern bloke with tattoos to help them improve their businesses, to help make and improve leadership capability. That's the thoughts I had going on in my head. But now I'm in the Bath, and that doesn't matter as much because I've got client testimonials, I've got recommendations, I've got a portfolio of work. And really, I want to talk about the power of LinkedIn. That's why this first one is so important, I think, because we all, or a lot of us, use LinkedIn, but do we use it to its best of its abilities? What is authenticity? How do people get past the what will people think of me kind of thing on my wrist here? And that is why I want to invite to the stage, or to the Bath. Let's turn the camera around and let's have a look at who is at the tap end today. Craig Dean, how are you?
I'm really good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I think first questions first, really, is it all you expected it to be, to talk to a bald northern bloke in the Bath with bubbles and water and stuff like that? Is it what you expected?
Well, I think if anybody was to look at my profile, they'll see that I've got a real affinity with water. So I just don't have the bubbles. Yeah. but yeah, what you just said there, mate, could totally kind of resonates with me. I also have tattoos, and I don't see that they should hinder you on LinkedIn in any way, shape, or form. Take Leah Turner, for example, as well. That's another fine example of somebody with tattoos, but it doesn't matter. You sat there in the Bath for me like that. It just kind of epitomizes how we should be on LinkedIn. There will be people probably watching this right now screaming, "This isn't Facebook. This isn't Facebook." But yeah, ultimately, it is still a social media platform. And if you consider the way that, particularly since March of like last year, when we kind of were plunged into this pandemic situation, if you think of what LinkedIn was like before that situation, it was quite a stuffy platform. It was all kind of business orientated. It was all suits, shirts, ties, it had that sort of feel to it, right? But what happened is, once we were plunged into lockdown, we became more relaxed. People, we were sat in our bloody onesies, for goodness sake, right? So yeah, doing business meetings. And I think what's happened over time is we've all relaxed a little bit on LinkedIn, but you will always get those people that just want the old LinkedIn back in place. So yeah, but yeah, good to see you chilling in the Bath, mate, and enjoying the tub. So yeah,
no, thank you. I think this is the cleanest I've ever been for a conversation. So thank you very much, Dino. So I guess just to pick up on LinkedIn, what is LinkedIn to you?
Oh, for me, so I got involved in LinkedIn day dot, pretty much, nearly 20 years ago. I think, in fact, to say nearly 20 years ago, it launched about 20 years ago, I think, about 19 years ago in the States. And I think it was a few years after that it launched in the UK. And I was an early adopter of it, but I didn't really know how to use it. And at the time, I used to work in recruitment, so I could see that there was potential in it, but I still didn't know how to make the most of it. And for the most part, for many, many years, I just had a profile and it just sat there, doing nothing. And it wasn't until later on in my recruitment career that kind of the penny dropped, and I realized that this was actually an amazing platform for many reasons. But the main thing for me, particularly in more recent years, has been the sense of community, like the way that people come together to help each other on the platform. And that sense of community that you get on LinkedIn is unlike any other platform. It's unlike any other platform out there. So you never get that on on Facebook, for example. You know, on Facebook, everyone's slating each other all the time, whereas on LinkedIn, it's for the most part, it's massively supportive. So yeah, for me, it's that real sense of community.
How do you get that connection and community though? Because I think like 5% of people don't, or 5% of people are the only ones that create content or whatever the stat is on LinkedIn at the minute. And you create content, but how do you get that connection, build that community, get that togetherness if you're relatively new or you haven't yet fully established yourself on LinkedIn?
Well, the first thing has got to be consistency, right? You've got to be consistent on the platform, isn't it? You can't just dip in and dip out when you kind of feel like it. It's more a case of getting involved in the community. And I've always said that your vibe attracts your tribe, right? So as people become aware of your content and engage with your content, you kind of develop followers, and you know and you're also going to kind of get people that are not interested in your content also, but that's fine. Those are the people that will move on out of your way. All you need to focus on is creating the content and adding the value to that audience, so that they can go away feeling like you've benefited them in some way. That's certainly what I try to do with my content. I'm always trying to add value. I try to do that through my profile as well, through my LinkedIn profile, by making sure that my featured content section, for example, is packed full of value. So I think another area that you can that can really help you to build those relationships is creativity. I'm coming out with all the C's here, aren't I? So we've got community, consistency, and creativity. But yeah, being creative on the platform. Don't just follow the crowd. Do what you think. Do the most authentic thing that's right for you, if you know what I mean. And like I said, the people that are interested in what you do will follow you. Yeah.
Some comments have started to come in, which is bizarre, because I guess why did I say it's bizarre? So I think it's bizarre because in fact, I say what is really bizarre for me about this is I messaged you just before this, and for the next 4 weeks I've got somebody that's agreed to be at the top end. So people want to be creative, people want to do something different, people want to stand out. And I guess just before I read the comments here, Dino, I guess, how do people stand out? So you mentioned consistency, you've mentioned creativity, you've mentioned to their audience, but what I see is people not necessarily speaking to the right people on their profile. They use it like a CV as opposed to a content creator. So how would you go from a CV to a content marketing machine or whatever? I'm just trying to use your C's here.
Yeah, sure. So I've often spoken to potential clients, and the foundation for everything else that you do on LinkedIn, it kind of starts and ends with your profile. Your profile is the foundation for everything else you do on the platform. And what most people unfortunately have, and when I say most people, I'm talking about 99% of those that are on LinkedIn, they will have a resume style profile. So when you get down to the experience section on that profile in particular, it will be laid out with perhaps 10 years of employment history. Now that's great. There's nothing wrong with that if you are looking for a job on LinkedIn, right? If you're trying to attract an employer. But if you're trying to attract clients, then a resume is no good to them. A resume is what you need to be doing with that experience section is turning it into more of a client-centric experience section. And the way to do that is, if you think of each experience section, all you need to do is add in the services that you offer instead, okay, and then elaborate on those services. The beauty of that is from your client's perspective, when they then look at that experience section, it will still showcase your experience in terms of years experience that you've got in those services, but instead of seeing where the places that you worked, instead it's showing the services that help to solve their problems.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I mean, I often, I'll often say to clients, what is a resume for? And they'll say to get a job. And then I'll say, okay, so what is a resume? Sorry. Then I'll say, what are you on LinkedIn for? And they'll say to get clients. And I'll say, okay, so you got the wrong tool for the wrong job. You need to orientate that experience section to be more client focused.
Yeah, perfect. Love it. No, thank you for that. And I think let's just go to a couple of comments now. So Pete Can, Laughter Man, says, you look hot in a sweaty way. I'm not sure whether he's talking about me or you there, Dino. But Pete Can has already booked his time in the bath with me in a couple of weeks' time. Adam Lawrence is the guest next week. What a great way to connect people. Looking forward to a time at the Tap End next week. And then Prague has said, I strongly believe that it's critical to keep sharing in relevant discussions and contribute to get an engagement with extended circle of people in LinkedIn. And there has to be relevant contribution as well as in addition to being creative and consistent. So just on that relevant contribution, how do you interpret what he means by relevant contribution, Dino?
It's about knowing your audience, isn't it? Like, so, knowing who your audience is, you should be creating content that is relevant to to the audience that you're trying to attract, and to gain the followers that are gonna help you in your business. But ultimately, the way to do that is to provide relevant content for them. So you shouldn't be. I mean, I saw somebody post the other day. They said that they only wanted to post content that was interesting to them. Well, what's the point in that? You're not there to entertain yourself. You should be there to entertain your audience, and therefore adding value where possible to them is going to attract those followers, those all important followers to your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, Ali Tanzi's just commented about no bubbles, but just to prove to you, Ali, that there are plenty of bubbles in this bath. I am surrounded in bubbles. But when the comments that you're getting, that you can actually display those on the screen, right? My hands are a little bit too wet to touch my laptop at the minute.
Gotcha.
It's a logistical nightmare, this is, Dino. I didn't realise how much thought I have to put into this about do I use laptop or mobile phone? What time do I run the bath? How do I make sure the water's not too hot? What time do I get in the bath before you join me? All sorts of these things. So maybe next week I might wear gloves or something. I've got a towel next to me, but that towel is soppy wet. Now you mentioned consistency earlier on about one of your C's, and I see people posting at different consistencies. What is the optimal frequency, or how often should people post?
Yeah, so I would say as a minimum 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And I would say as a maximum once a day. I have been known to go overboard on that slightly. I have posted more than once a day in the past. I would only do that normally if I had like a spark of an idea that came after I'd posted. I thought, oh, I really want to kind of get this out to my target audience. But yeah, as a general rule of thumb, I'd say, no less than 3 times a week, and as a maximum once a day. And yes, you can post at the weekends, guys. You can post at the weekends. In fact, I've found that posting at the weekends is a great opportunity to post content that is more personal, kind of behind the scenes content. So like for example, this weekend I went to Zip World, as you know, and I posted a video of me going down the zip wire at 118 miles per hour, right? And I used the weekend to post that kind of content. What's great about posting behind the scenes content, of course, is it gives people a window into your personal life. And despite all those that kind of say, this isn't Facebook, it's important for people to be able to, that's how we build relationships, right? You've got to get to know people, get to know a little bit about what goes on behind the scenes in order to be able to build those all important relationships. I kind of hate it when people say we buy from people that we know, like, and trust, right? But it is true. And to get to know somebody and to get to like somebody and trust them, you've got to find things in their lives that you share in common. And like I said, you know, right at the beginning, your vibe attracts your tribe, and the people that will follow you will be the people that like and appreciate the things that perhaps that you do in your spare time, as much as the content that you put out there that's useful and helpful as well.
Yeah,
so
completely. It's all about relationships, isn't it? All about relationships. Yeah. In fact, actually, we said just before we hit the go live today that last week was the anniversary of me losing my best mate. So 3 years, and before he passed, I asked him for 3 life lessons that are most important to him. I've got them tattooed on my arm here. It says, "Be yourself, good friends, and time is limited." And I think we've got to strive to be ourselves a little bit more, and that talks to your point about showing people behind the scenes, being vulnerable as leaders and as people. I think we only build connection when people see not just our wins, not just the things that go right, but the things that might not go planned as well. And that helps build trust as well, because people will be more likely to raise their hand or to share more of their challenges if they're seeing other people sharing those things as well.
Absolutely. If you going on that point, take my story, for example. Everyone knows that I've got a water themed profile. And if you consider the fact that when I was a kid, I nearly drowned, right? And as a result of me nearly drowning at in Western Supermare, and being saved by my cousin, I developed aquaphobia, right? So I developed aquaphobia. For years, I was scared to go in the water, scared to go in too deep. And ultimately, I through exposure therapy, I was able to overcome that. So it's important to make sure, I think, with regards to your profile, that there's a real story behind your banner and your profile photo. That's why I've got that integration and why I've got that water theme, is to kind of showcase the fact that I was able to overcome something because something else was more important. The thing that was more important, and the reason I overcame it, was I wanted to join the forces. I would never have got into the forces if I couldn't, if I was scared of the water. It's important to show vulnerability. Absolutely, totally agree with that.
Yeah, so just a couple of questions that have come in from Alison Tamsey. What's your view on the best time and day of the week to post?
Best time and day of the week. I personally try to avoid Mondays, just because I know for me, my engagement isn't that great on Mondays. But that's not to say that it might not be good for someone else. So when people ask for the best times of day and the best times best days of the week to post, it depends on what your target audience is, and you need to understand your audience first. That's why it's great to use tools, to look at your metrics and go in and try and check, when your audience is most engaged and most active. So for me to kind of give you, what's best for me doesn't necessarily mean that what's best for me will be right for you, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, so just on that one, how would you recommend that people do find out when is best for them? What tools could they use, or what metrics would they use, or how many posts do they need to put out there just to test it?
Yeah, so I use something called Shield. Shield is great for tracking your engagement levels, and it gives you lots of other metrics, so you can track exactly how well certain posts are performing and so on, and you can see where your engagement is coming from, and what times people are most engaged. So once you've got that data to hand, you can then make really kind of educated, concise decisions on how best to move forward with your strategy on LinkedIn.
Yeah, well, another question from Ali is, how can you avoid the LinkedIn gremlins that reduce your reach?
Oh, right.
So before you answer that, what things reduce your reach, Dino? What should you not do that doesn't optimize your posts?
Well, consistency is the first one. If you're not posting consistently, I mean, I go so far as to even going onto my I just use my Outlook calendar, and I schedule in times when I'm going to post on LinkedIn, and then that time is then blocked out, so to speak, for me to concentrate on creating my content and putting my content out there. I also sometimes I will do part of my content creation at one point in the day, and then I'll have another point in the day where I'll finish it off. So it's definitely about consistency and posting at specific times, because here's the deal, right, with consistency is that after a while of you posting at the same times consistently over an extended period of time, your audience becomes aware that that's when they can expect your content to land in the feed, right? And so it's almost like they get ready to expect it at that time. So that's the first thing. You mentioned, what was the question again with regards to LinkedIn gremlins? So
so how can you avoid the LinkedIn gremlins that reduce your reach?
Yeah, so the LinkedIn gremlins, we're not really talking about actual gremlins, are we? We're talking about LinkedIn's algorithm. And LinkedIn has got algorithms for different things. It's not just one single algorithm. So all we can do is play to LinkedIn's tune, if you like. And that algorithm, remember, is changing consistently. I've heard people saying recently that they've activated creator mode and that's had an impact on their reach. I would beg to differ. I would say that in actual fact, it's probably something else. It could be that you've not remained consistent in your posting efforts, and that's potentially impacted on one of your posts. But what you've done is, because at the time that you posted that post, it was maybe the same time that you activated your creator mode. And so you just naturally then assume that, creator mode, I've turned creator mode on and that's now negatively impacted on my reach. So yeah, focus on that primarily. Don't sort of put creator mode to, don't blame creator mode. Creator mode, incidentally, creator mode I think creator mode is going to be the beginning of something great on LinkedIn. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg with creator mode. So anybody that's not activated their creator mode, thinking or listening to people that are saying that it's impacting on their reach, I think they're a bit silly, to be honest with you. I think you need to be, any new features that LinkedIn rolls out, you need to be an early adopter of. And the reason I say that is the people who adopt the features the earliest are the people that get the next new features the earliest, if that makes sense. So for example, when the next, what's the next big feature? Clubhouse, for example, LinkedIn's Clubhouse. When that is rolled out, you can guarantee that the people that were first to take on board creator mode and the cover story, for example, they'll probably be the ones that get the LinkedIn's Clubhouse the soonest.
Yeah, gotcha. And I guess just while we're talking content, posts, pictures, videos, polls, documents, lives, all these sort of putting links in the comments, putting links in the post. What are your top tips for creating content that has the greatest chance of success?
So when we were talking about consistency before, so I was saying before that I would schedule the posts in my Outlook calendar. One of those posts would be, because I've seen people, what they'll do is they'll just do video posts, thinking that video is probably one of the best and most engaging ways to engage with their audience. But what you'll probably find is if somebody just creates video content consistently, even though they're doing it consistently, they'll do well for a while and then it will just drop off the edge of a cliff. And it would be because LinkedIn is noticing that you're only creating one form of content for the platform. So like, that saying, variety is the spice of life. So when you're scheduling it, make sure that you're creating a long form text post, perhaps on a Monday, a short form text post on a Tuesday, a video on Wednesday, a poll on Thursday, and you get the idea. You vary the type of content that you put out there, and that way as well, you've got some people. Video appeals to some people, but it doesn't appeal to others. And then you've got some people who really enjoy the polls and interacting with polls. So by varying the types of content that you put out there, you're appealing to the wider audience. And within those different segments, you've got people that will be interested in your type of content. So it makes sense to vary it as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, a couple more comments have come in. Do you know Louis Montero? Is it just me or is Lee in the bathtub? Yes, I am. There's the water.
I know, Louis.
Yeah, he's then said, Dino, the man, glad to see you once again live and sharing value. So there you go. You got a fan there, Dino. And then Charlotte Cox has said, Canva has been great for me for scheduling posts. I think adding an image does better than just a text post.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
Absolutely. Images are far more engaging, but that being said, there will always be certain people that really engage well with long form text posts. For example, we know that LinkedIn has recently increased the character limit on posts, right? So I was talking about this recently on one of my lives, that what's the reason for them increasing the character limit? So my hunch is that articles and posting of articles is dying a death. I think articles are not being posted as regularly as they used to be, even though from an SEO standpoint, articles are fantastic because they get indexed by Google, right? But I think because less and less people are now, put it this way, people prefer to do just posts over articles all day, every day. That's why we get more posts than articles. By increasing the character limit on posts, it means that they will, I think, eventually will become indexable by Google. So I think it's a bit to do away with articles and just have longer posts. And the other beauty of a longer post, of course, if it's an engaging piece of content, then LinkedIn's algorithm will favor it because you'll get dwell time. It will take people longer to get to the end of the post, and so LinkedIn will push that up the rankings just because of the dwell time that it's got.
Gotcha. Perfect. Dino, I said I was going to have this conversation for as long as it took my fingers to become wrinkly. I can assure you now, my fingers are now very wrinkly. So if people want to know more about Dino, where would they go, what would they find, and how can they get in touch with Dino?
Sure. Well, I live and breathe on LinkedIn. So one of the best ways that you can reach me is through LinkedIn's inbox. I can also be reached via my email, which is craig@influxio.com. And other than that, you can reach me on the phone. All my details and all my contact details are in my contact info section on LinkedIn. Perfect.
Dino, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me at the very first At the Tap End. It's very much appreciated. I'm going to go and have to get dry and dressed. I've got a client workshop in 32 minutes time.
Amazing.
But yeah, thanks so much, Dino. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to chatting again very soon.
Thanks very much, mate. All the best. Thanks for having me. Take care.